Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And this
For
is
the
our
last time in this channel.
You can keep talking.
As we mentioned before, over and over again this week, we will be moving this show of us together to our English channel, and this channel will be all Spanish content and Spanish live streams as well.
And we got quite a few stories on RUMBLE. We head over there for the second half of the show. We got some pretty controversial stories we can't talk about on YouTube because of censorship.
Yes.
But before we get to Russell Brand and the rest of the stories, why don't you do 15 minutes in Spanish?
Yes. Así es, ahora nos vamos a mudar, bueno, el show en inglés se va a mudar a el canal que tenemos en inglés, que se llama Nat and the Guy en English o en inglés. El link siempre está abajo en todas las descripciones de todos nuestros videos. Y va a empezar a esta misma hora y yo voy a hacer un en vivo todos los días, lunes a viernes, a las 8, 8 y cuarto, todo en español. Entonces va a ser un cambio que hemos estado intentando hacer. Pero, pero toda esta semana fue más o menos de prueba y ya la próxima semana vamos a implementar todos los cambios. Feliz viernes. Y sí, justamente Azúcar con Azúcar dice, haz un programa en español. Justamente es lo que va a empezar a pasar la próxima semana. El en vivo de este canal ahora va a ser todo en español, va a ser nada más yo. Y de ahí nos vamos a pasar al canal de inglés a las 9 y cuarto, a esta misma hora, en nuestro canal con Guy, en nuestro canal de inglés. Y Guy también, aparte, durante la semana va a tener un show solo en inglés, obviamente, y en nuestro canal en inglés. Entonces, si no se han suscrito, el link está abajo en la descripción. Y si les interesa seguir viendo los segmentos con nosotros juntos, suscríbanse, por favor, porque ese canal está medio abandonado y no habíamos subido nada porque estábamos tratando de concentrarnos en el español, pero ahora vamos a intentar hacer ambas cosas, a ver cómo funciona y a ver cómo sale. Déjame ver si hay más preguntas sobre eso. Estaba pensando que podrían subir los videos al canal de inglés con una VPN. ¿Cuáles videos? ¿Estos o los de inglés? O sea, el plan va a ser justamente sacar clips de tanto mi en vivo en español como el en vivo que hagamos con Guy en inglés. Los clips en inglés van a ir en el canal de inglés, los clips en español van a seguir viviendo en este canal, y al igual que el en vivo, y eventualmente ya poder concentrarnos también en los videos editados y poder hacer videos editados más largos, más a fondo, profundizando en temas como por ejemplo el feminismo, como por ejemplo la diversidad, equidad e inclusión, el wokismo en México, qué avances han habido en torno a eso. Entonces, esperemos que sea un cambio, pero va a tardar varias semanas, por lo menos para poder acostumbrarnos a todo esta nueva modalidad y este cambio de canales. Entonces, sí, gracias siempre por todo su apoyo, por seguir por acá. Feliz viernes, creo que ya lo había dicho, no sé. Pero por acá andan con un cueterío, entonces si escuchan explosiones está todo bien, nada más andan festejando y celebrando, ni siquiera sé qué, creo que el Día del Trabajador, el Día del Constructor, algo así. Pero hay muchas celebraciones por acá en la Ciudad de México. Ahora sí, ya había hablado más o menos de este tema en un video que hice esta semana, salió también, pero ahora sí me quiero concentrar en la gran estupidez que ha hecho Papa Ezidue, que es el nuevo actor que va a ser Severus Snape en la serie de Harry Potter, porque, como ya lo he hablado varias veces, estos actores y estas celebridades creen que sus opiniones son las más importantes, y no solo eso, pero que son las opiniones de todo el mundo, que todo el mundo opina igual que ellos, son igual de progres que ellos, y luego que salen sus proyectos, salen sus películas, sale pues en lo que aparezcan o lo que están tratando de promocionar junto con sus opiniones ridículas, se dan cuenta de que no, que de la mitad del público, la mitad de los fans de cualquier propiedad en la que estén apareciendo, no tienen la misma opinión, y está bien, pero luego salen a decir que todos los fans son tóxicos, que cómo puede ser, que hay mucho odio en su contra, cuando en realidad sus opiniones, más y más con cada día que pasa, son pues menos del mundo en general y solamente las tienen pues ellos, ahora sí. Pero veamos rápidamente de qué se trata Todo esto porque cientos del Reino Unido, este artículo es traducido del inglés al español, por eso si hay cosas que no hacen sentido voy a tratar de mejorarlas yo, pero cientos de actores del Reino Unido firman una carta abierta a favor de la comunidad trans, incluyendo una futura estrella de Harry Potter. Por si no sabían, la autora de Harry Potter y la que creó todo ese mundo, J.K. Rowling, ha sido muy vocal y se ha ido muy en contra de toda la ideología trans, la ideología de género y de también transicionar a menores, y por esto se ha ganado la ira de muchos de sus fans, o que se decían sus fans, de la comunidad alfabeto, y ha tenido muchas controversias gracias a esta postura, que en mi opinión es la postura lógica, pero bueno. Papa Siriu, quien es el actor que ahora representará a Severus Snape, firmó la carta abierta y va a ser Severus Snape en la serie de HBO, esta nueva serie de HBO de Harry Potter. Una vez más, puede que no haga mucho sentido el artículo, pero cientos de profesionales del cine y la televisión han firmado una carta condenando la reciente sentencia de la Corte Suprema del Reino Unido, que establece que las mujeres transgénero no son legalmente consideradas mujeres y los hombres transgénero no son legalmente considerados hombres. Y ya no voy a seguir con el artículo porque una vez más está medio confuso la traducción de inglés a español, pero ahora sí vámonos a hablar de la controversia en general, porque ahora sí que no sé qué tan bruto se tiene que ser o tiene que estar uno para, después de que se anuncia que trabajarás en una de las series mejor conocidas y queridas de las últimas 2 décadas, que ahora sí casi todo el mundo conoce, excepto a los que tal vez no los dejaban leer los libros o ver las películas, y que tu mismo casting ha sido muy controversial porque estarás tomando el rol icónico del profesor Severus Snape. Se te ocurre salir y arremeter en contra de la autora, productora y la dueña de la propiedad intelectual, de la cual podrías haber sacado muchísimo provecho para tu carrera, para hacer un buen trabajo tal vez, y pues notoriedad también, que al final del día es lo que buscan todos los actores, establecerse dentro del medio. Y el Papa de Siriu, aún siendo medio conocido en el Reino Unido, pues en el mundo en general no lo es. Y pues sí, en efecto, estoy hablando de este actor recientemente anunciado. Y además, cuando anunciaron el casting de Papa de Siriu, causó muchísima controversia. Durante otro video que hice sobre Rachel Zegler, esta semana hablé rápidamente, no tan rápidamente porque sí me explayé como 5 minutos en el tema de Severus Snape, de este actor y de la controversia en general que se causó por el cambio racial que le hicieron al personaje en esta nueva serie de HBO. Y también hablé de cómo hoy en día los actores no logran llegar al mismo estrellato que alguna vez otros tuvieron, por ejemplo Tom Cruise, pues, actores de renombre de los cuales todavía nos acordamos, Angelina Jolie, etcétera. En parte, y obviamente no es la única causa, y no son todos los actores que sí tuvieron renombre, porque hay algunos que sí salían a hablar pues, de lo que quisieran y cuando quisieran, pero porque creen que es buena idea alienar a la mitad de su público al declarar opiniones políticas controversiales, como si nadie los fuera a escuchar o solamente las personas que estén de acuerdo los fueran a escuchar. Y en especial parece que cada vez que están a punto o en medio de representar propiedades conocidas y queridas mundialmente, se les ocurre salir a decir las estupideces más progres que puedan decir y que creen que todo el mundo va a estar de acuerdo con ellos. Por ejemplo, Rachel Zegler poniendo mensajes en apoyo a Palestina cuando la actriz con la que aparece en pantalla y con la que tenía que promover la película y estar pues, ahí sentada en entrevistas y en personas preguntándoles cosas en los red carpets, en las alfombras rojas, y tenían que verse como que se caían bien, porque así funciona en los medios, promoviendo toda esta película de Blancanieves, estaba junto a Gal Gadot, quien es israelí y además fue parte de la FDI, o sea, de la Fuerza Militar de Israel, y pues digamos que esos dos están bastante en conflicto, y además se le ocurrió salir a dar su apoyo, mientras que Gal Gadot intentó quedarse bastante callada sobre el tema porque sabía las consecuencias de salir a decir cosas de más. no es como que la opinión de Rachel, yo creo que pudiera haber salido a cambiar muchas mentes o forjar un gran cambio, pero a estos pues cuasi payasos, los actores, les han hecho pensar que su opinión es la más importante e interesante, cuando en realidad su trabajo pues es entretener e intentar ayudarle a la gente a olvidarse de su día a día y justamente todos estos conflictos en los que se quieren meter al contar historias que estén alejadas del mundo real. Pero bueno, hablar de Rachel Zegler y pues que le demos más atención es lo que quiere. Entonces, ahora sí, vámonos con la nueva declaración de virtud falsa que podría acabar pues más bien muy mal para el actor Papa Siriu, pero en una de esas, muy bien para los fans reales de Harry Potter y que entienden por qué el casting y el contratar a Papa Siriu tal vez no era tan buena idea, aparte de lo que acaba de pasar. Varios productores, actores y escritores del Reino Unido firmaron esta carta publicada el 30 de abril en contra de la reciente e importante decisión por parte de la Suprema Corte del Reino Unido del 17 de abril, en donde dictaminaron que la definición legal de mujer se basa en el sexo biológico asignado al nacer, excluyendo a las mujeres trans, o sea, hombres que se disfrazan de mujeres, de la Ley de Igualdad del Reino Unido. Y mientras que muchos celebraron que por fin el Reino Unido haya regresado a la verdad absoluta y lógica de que solo existen dos sexos y estos son determinados biológicamente sin importar cuántas cirugías, mutilaciones u hormonas tome un señor confundido y con problemas mentales que lo han llevado a creer que cambiar de sexo de forma literal es posible, muchos otros de la comunidad alfabeto y sus aliades salieron a hacer un escándalo porque rápidamente la ideología que estaban intentando forzar y han estado intentando forzar durante tanto tiempo en la sociedad desaparece y es expuesta como ridícula. Y entre ellos que firmaron la carta estuvo el nombre del actor Papa Siriu, quien recientemente también ha estado en controversia, pues una vez más por haber sido anunciado como el actor que interpretará el icónico papel de Severus Snape en la nueva serie de Harry Potter producida por HBO y con J.K. Rowling, la escritora y autora intelectual de toda la serie, como productora ejecutiva y quien siempre tiene que dar el visto bueno cuando se trata de Harry Potter y cualquier cosa que involucre Harry Potter o a la propiedad intelectual. En la carta, en parte, expresan que expresan solidaridad con las comunidades trans, no binarias e intersexo que se han visto afectadas por la decisión de la Suprema Corte del 17 de abril. Creemos que la decisión borra la realidad que viven y que amenaza la seguridad de las personas trans, no binarias e intersexo que viven en el Reino Unido. Creemos que esta decisión expone a las personas trans a la vergüenza y al acoso y los excluye de la participación en la vida pública. Entonces, lo tuve que volver a traducir del inglés al español porque una vez más traducir artículos y encontrar artículos en español a veces no es tan tal y como los quiero, pero muchos de aquellos nombrados en la carta tienen que ver o se acercan no solo a propiedades que conocemos, pero a Harry Potter en especial. Y una vez más, mientras J.K. Rowling lleva años en la lucha feminista por sacar a hombres que se creen mujeres de espacios pues, designados para mujeres biológicas y que son así por seguridad muchas veces, y se ha ganado con esto pues, la ira de la comunidad alfabeto, la autora también todavía mantiene pues, sus principios izquierdistas en otros aspectos, como la importancia de la inclusión y representación, por lo cual la decisión de contratar a este señor, Papa Siriu, necesariamente tendría que haber tenido su visto bueno antes de que se hiciera el anuncio públicamente. Entonces, de cierta forma, J.K. Rowling estaba de acuerdo en contratarlo y pues en una de esas hasta luchó por tenerlo ahí. Y aparte, en la serie original también J.K. Rowling luchó y habló mucho sobre la importancia de visibilizar la representación de actores de color y de personajes diversos. Acordémonos también de Dumbledore, por ejemplo, que lo hizo parte de la comunidad y muchos también se enojaron en ese entonces, pero mostraba sus tendencias progres desde entonces. Entonces J.K. Rowling también es así, porque está en el medio además. Y, o sea, varios actores, en cuanto J.K. Rowling empezó a hablar en contra de que la comunidad trans pues, se adueñara de espacios designados para mujeres biológicas, actores como Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson y Rupert Grint, que son los 3 principales, junto con varios otros como Eddie Redmayne de las películas de Animales Fantásticos, que no son tan fantásticas, han también hablado en contra de Rowling y en defensa de la comunidad trans, que ha causado pues asperezas en la relación y la inclusión de ambas partes en eventos sobre Harry Potter que podrían haber sido evitados, y pues también varios de estos mismos que están firmando la carta del 30 de abril tienen que ver o han tenido que ver con la serie, aparte de Eddie Redmayne. Entonces, mientras que ya hablé sobre la importancia de mantener, aunque sea a ciertos personajes fieles a la propiedad intelectual en un video de la semana pasada, el mismo de Rachel Zegler, y sobre por qué Snape en especial es un personaje que deberían haber dejado sin forzar inclusión y representación, porque hasta se vuelve problemático que sea un actor de color, según las mismas ideologías que llevaron a que este fuera un cambio que se hiciera inicialmente. Ahora sí que por parte de Papa Siriu toma muchos huevos y estupidez por su parte irse tan públicamente en contra de la persona que no solo te está dando una oportunidad única, pero que también lo hace sabiendo el enojo de sus propios fans por el cambio racial a Snape, para luego salir a criticar la postura más importante y significativa que ha tomado Rowling en defender a las mujeres ya de veras. Tan rápido como fue anunciado, podría ser despedido, porque como ya mencioné, J.K. Rowling sigue involucrada en todas las decisiones sobre la nueva serie de HBO, aun cuando muchos de sus fans se han ido en contra de ella, también por esta misma razón. Y aquí tengo que hacer una pausa, otra pausa, breve, porque como alguien que sí le gusta y todavía consume a veces contenido sobre Harry Potter cuando no quiero ver noticias o cosas que estén pasando en el mundo, me parece no solo débil, pero también patético que muchos creadores y fans de Harry Potter que están en los medios, en YouTube, en redes sociales, se esfuerzan por no mencionar el nombre de J.K. Rowling para pues, señalizar su virtud y su apoyo a la comunidad y qué tan enojados están de que J.K. Rowling quiera defender a las mujeres biológicas, equiparándola a veces también hasta con el señor del bigote y como la peor persona del mundo, pero sigan consumiendo, discutiendo, comprando todo lo que tenga que ver con Harry Potter, que si van a los parques, que si la varita, que si la capa, que si esta o aquella teoría sobre algún personaje escondido que apareció una vez en un libro. Y, para mí, por ejemplo, si alguien que creo que escribe o hace algo que me importa mucho y saliera a dar una opinión o tomara una acción que realmente me pareciera tan terrible, pues dejo de consumir esa cosa en ese mismo momento. Quiere decir que todos los que siguen consumiendo pero criticando a J.K. Rowling, en mi opinión, son puros hipócritas, y ahí revelan que todas estas posturas progres no son nada más que algo que hacen porque pues está de moda y les ayuda a verse como buenas personas y pues a mostrar su falsa virtud. Y pues ahora los fans que defendían el casting de Siriu también están entre la espada y la pared. Por ejemplo, aquí hay un tuit de alguien muy enojado diciendo: Papa de Siriu, la disonancia cognitiva me desconcerta. Otra vez está traducido del inglés al español, puede que no haga mucho sentido. Ni se los estoy mostrando. ¿Cómo te inscribes para ser parte de un programa poniéndole dinero en el bolsillo a alguien tan transfóbico, a la persona más transfóbica de Gran Bretaña, que ha estado usando esto para hacer campaña y que para que les quiten derechos a las personas trans, y luego actúes como un aliado? Entonces ni siquiera con los que estaba tratando de defender le está yendo bien, porque pues también dicen: ¿por qué te inscribes? ¿Por qué dices que sí al casting cuando es justamente para la propiedad de una persona que es terrible? Una vez más, disonancia cognitiva, en eso sí estoy de acuerdo con ese tweet o ese X. Y algunos están diciendo que él mismo está siendo increíblemente hipócrita al primero apoyar este terrible proyecto y luego actuar como aliade. Y otros que también están especulando que tal vez lo esté haciendo para romper con el legado de J.K. Rowling desde adentro. Pero no creo que sea tan inteligente este señor, la verdad. No le ascribo tanta inteligencia. Y otro actor de esta nueva serie de HBO, John Lithgow, quien interpretará al director de Hogwarts, Dumbledore, también salió a dar una opinión, pero más sincera, diciendo que no sabe y no entiende por qué las opiniones de J.K. Rowling deberían de ser un factor sobre su participación en la serie. Y apenas hace unas horas, una vez más, este es un artículo traducido del inglés al español, el CEO de HBO salió en defensa, pero entre líneas, de J.K. Rowling. Entonces, la serie de Harry Potter no se hará en la serie de Harry Potter referencias en secreto a las vistas políticas y personales de Rowling, dice el jefe de HBO. Cassie Bloys opinó sobre la controversia de los vistas anti-trans de la autora, ya que señaló que HBO ha estado en el negocio durante 25 años con Rowling misma. Rápidamente llego acá. Bajo hasta acá, porque dice que la decisión de hacer negocios con J.K. Rowling no es nueva para nosotros. Hemos estado juntos haciendo negocios durante 25 años y que ya hasta tienen un programa de HBO de ella llamado CB Hit, me parece, no me acuerdo cómo se llama en inglés. Y que en lo que refiere a la próxima adaptación de la serie exitosa, de los exitosos libros, Rowling actuará como productora ejecutiva y aclaró que Harry Potter no estará no está enmascarando en secreto ninguna de estas opiniones políticas y dice que creo que está bastante claro que estas son sus opiniones políticas personales y que ella tiene derecho a ellos. Y si quieres debatir con ella, puedes ir a Twitter. Eso es lo que dijo el CEO de HBO. Entonces, pues parece que la gran mayoría de los que están involucrados, aparte de Sidiou, con su idiotez y con su poca falta de visión hacia el futuro, todos los demás están bastante como, bueno, pues que diga lo que quiera. Y yo creo que también muchas personas están en secreto, también de acuerdo con ella, pero no pueden salir a decirlo. Y entonces, en mi opinión, el cambio racial al personaje de Snape creo que ha sido y será una controversia que le afectará más a la serie de HBO que las opiniones de Rowling, que además más y más personas comparten cada día y tal vez muchos del medio también en secreto. Y Papa Sidiou puede que haya arruinado toda su oportunidad antes de siquiera empezar a grabar la mendiga serie, todo por su ceguera, prepotencia y falta de sentido común, que cada día pues es más común en Hollywood y en los medios, que la gente nada más hable por hablar. Y que no piensen las consecuencias y que crean que todos están de acuerdo con ellos. Ahora sí me voy a leer sus comentarios porque estamos en vivo y cuando estamos en vivo leo sus comentarios y luego los pueden ver en el video que se publica más adelante sobre este segmento. También les recuerdo que si les gustó el video, si les gusta el canal, suscríbanse, si les gusta el video denle like. Y si quieren que sus comentarios aparezcan también durante el en vivo y que los discutamos durante el en vivo, déjenlos. El en vivo ahora va a ser a las 8 de la noche, todo en español, en este canal. Y nuestro en vivo en inglés va a ser en nuestro canal en inglés, que está en la descripción. Entonces, si les interesa también vernos en inglés, por favor, suscríbanse a Not and the Guy in English. Y ahora sí leo sus comentarios. Denme un segundo. Rafa dice los de inglés para que no les... porque nos sugiere que pongamos los segmentos en inglés a través de un VPN en el canal de inglés para que no crean que estamos en México. Me parece que YouTube ya salió a decir que esa táctica ya no funciona, pero podemos intentarlo a ver qué pasa. Tu papi Rafa dice que me parece que ese chico no es muy listo. Pues algunos son listos. Alguien de los medios y de Hollywood hoy en día es listo realmente. Y pues no, los contratan porque actúan bien, porque pueden interpretar roles y papeles, pero nadie quiere saber papeles. Ese fue un anglicismo. Pueden interpretar personajes y papeles muy bien, pero aparte de eso, no tienen por qué andar dando sus opiniones, no se dedican a eso y nada más terminan arruinando todo, esencialmente. Wake dice, vengo algo tarde, nada, borraron el live de ayer. No, hubo un error de codificación y ya lo volvimos a subir. Y Walker dice, ya lo decían una vez, te arrodillas ante los woke, nunca será suficiente. Exactamente, y ese es uno de los problemas con todas estas ideologías que siempre terminan demandando más y más y más de las personas que lo apoyan, y las personas mismas que apoyan esas ideologías terminan nunca pudiendo vivir y llegar a las expectativas que se tiene de las personas que los apoyan, y siempre cambian de ideología porque no tienen, y de valores, porque no tienen valores, no tienen cimientos morales fundamentales ni valores, y ese es el gran problema, en especial porque se ha vuelto para muchas personas una forma de casi reemplazar a la religión tradicional, por así decirlo, y pues es una religión, cuasi religión, que demanda cada vez más y más y pide más y más de aquellos que la siguen, aun cuando no están de acuerdo. He dicho muchas veces, yo era súper progre en algún punto, hace como, ahora sí que ya casi 8 o 10 años, y me di cuenta justamente por todo lo que se pedía, demandaba, las cosas que decían cuando creían que nadie más los estaba escuchando, y me empezó a parecer que era preocupante realmente lo que había debajo de toda esa virtud y toda esa equidad y justicia y ser lindos con todos. Entonces, exacto. Y Rafa dice, caray, ¿sí hubo en vivo ayer? Sí, sí hubo. Y ahora sí nos vamos al en vivo en inglés. Una vez más, esta semana que viene es en vivo en nuestro canal en inglés. Y este canal ahora se va a dedicar a puros videos en español. Ahí. Es el cambio de la parte de atrás. Can I go back? Ok. Les digo que andamos probando, intentando diversas cosas para los en vivos ahora que van a ser tanto en este canal como en el siguiente. Yo creo que en los en vivos de la próxima semana lo que voy a hacer es... let me finish this quickly.
Oh, okay.
Lo que voy a hacer es, YouTube tiene una forma de mandar básicamente a todos los que están en un en vivo a otro canal o a otro en vivo, entonces probablemente voy a tratar de hacer eso, ya que averigüe cómo funciona todo ese rollo. Okay, that was it.
Okay. To the English portion, last English portion on this channel.
Exactly.
Okay, we got some pretty heavy-hitting stories, like I said in the beginning, on RUMBLE. That's where we're going to head to after the YouTube segment. A lot of stories that YouTube would definitely censor us for today.
Yes.
But let's get into the first story.
Sure.
Okay.
So, Alberta PM Damien Keurig stepping down for Poilievre to run in by-election. Keurig was first elected in the Alberta riding in 2019. And this comes after, of course, sadly, the Conservatives lost during the Canadian elections of April 28th, earlier this week. And apparently, Pierre Poilievre, in a weird twist of fate and maybe some other twists that they did on purpose,
I can explain it.
He ended up losing his riding.
Yeah, they basically put 90 candidates to run against him, and that confused the voters a lot. But also, the riding right next to him, or the city right next to him, they flooded it with a ton of immigrant voters, and then they combined that district with his, so they set it up so he would lose his seat. That doesn't mean he can't be leader of the party. It just means somebody had to give up their seat so he could take over for them. He's decided to take over the Edmonton riding. One of the MPs stepped down from there. But we're going to continuously cover Canadian politics because the Canadian separation that's happening right now. They're going to probably go up for a separation vote in Alberta, maybe Saskatchewan, and maybe even British Columbia. It's very important that we kind of cover stuff like this because mass censorship in Canada is coming, and it's coming hard. They almost lost that election because they didn't censor, and they already have the bills ready to go, so they're going to vote on them. And I'm going to guess a lot of Canadian YouTubers are going to lose their platform or be silenced.
Within Canada.
So it's very important that YouTubers outside of Canada that know Canadian politics talk about it.
Yeah, because otherwise, I mean, the news will just go with what the mainstream news in Canada says. That's where other news around the world gets their sources, through the media of that country. And we know already that the media in Canada is essentially subsidized by the government, which continues to now be the Liberal government that started that whole thing in the first place.
Well, $1.4 billion is what they financed the mainstream media to. The Canadian government does every year. But just before this election, they gave $150 million extra to the mainstream media to basically show for their candidates.
Yes.
And I guess it worked. But it's good to see Poilievre heading to Edmonton. But I will say this, Danielle Smith is currently running that province, and she looks like she's really going for separation and putting it into the hands of the people for a vote. If Pierre Poilievre is going to be against that, there's a good chance he is going to act like a uniparty candidate, and that's not what I want to see. If he's up for separation and he's up for letting the people vote on that, he would be good in Alberta. If not, I would hope he would stay out of that riding.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
And we're also separating channels. Speaking of separation.
This stuff, Felix.
But don't do promotions for brands.
But I just tried it. It's excellent. I was looking for something that's kind of healthy with very limited sugar in it, and this tastes great. Okay. So we'll buy a bunch next time we go.
Sure.
Okay.
Hold on. Trying to reset.
Because you were buying a bunch of different flavored carbonated water, and it tasted horrible.
Because I'm trying to cut down on sugar and soda, trying being the operative word there. But now, GTA, I guess? I don't know if YouTube will let me have that image up.
We need to demonetize.
So GTA 6 release.
The other one was
the other one we
Rumble.
can't talk about. We will talk about it on RUMBLE, but that was a bit... we can't talk about it on YouTube. I'll just say that. So follow us to RUMBLE.
Why don't you
to watch it?
Actually read the article while I cut this story and put it in the other section.
So GTA 6 release pushed back to 2026. Rockstar Games apologizes for delay. Lady in a bikini. Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to motor out several months later than expected. Rockstar Games, publisher of the hugely popular franchise, announced Friday that GTA 6 is now set to release on May 26, 2026. That's on the Tuesday following Memorial Day holiday in the US next year.
Yeah, and there's a few things with this release. This is the third time it's been delayed. This is their flagship product. It's made over $8 billion, $8 billion in this time it's been out. So I'm sure they want to get this right. Yeah, so I'm sure they want to get this right. Problem is, it was rumored to be extremely woke. A lot of the script writing, a lot of the characters, and now with the cultural shift, they're going to delay it almost a year to try to take all this stuff out. I don't know if they're going to be able to kind of rewrite a game like this. It takes a lot longer than it does a movie.
And also with game sales going up, like the price for games going up, who knows how that will also impact all of these games that they're releasing, either new ones or ones that were.
Why don't you continue to read the article? I'm looking something up right now about this game.
Okay. Let's go to just me. Oh, no, because I actually need the article to be there. Previously, the company was saying the action-adventure open-world title was on track for a fall 2025 launch, though a specific release date was never set. We are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding a new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish the game.
That's what I was looking up. Yeah, my estimate of $8 billion was right. It sounded a little high when I said it, but I was watching something earlier and I thought that was the number. It was actually $8.6 billion this franchise has made. This is one of the largest gaming franchises. So I think delaying it a year and taking out the wokeness is the right move to make.
Yeah, especially after, more and more things come out about the video game industry and how captured and infiltrated it was with feminists and wokes and progressives and etc.
Well, and this is the one game they want guns, crime, and women.
Pew pews.
Pew-pews and fast cars.
Yes.
So...
And that's what attracted most people to it in the first place.
That's what attracts all people to this game.
All people.
So if they're going to put wokeness in this game, it's going to drive everybody away from this franchise, and it could kill the franchise permanently.
Sorry. That was funny. But yes, exactly. And I think more and more industries, video games, hopefully more of them, are realizing that it's not worth it to continue with the whole charade and facade of trying to virtue signal when it doesn't make sense. Especially for those properties and for their target audience. Stop trying to make women your target audience. It'll never happen. So the women that will be interested in it and genuinely interested in video games will continue to be so because when they were younger, that's what they were interested in the first place as well. So
yeah. And before we go to the next story, maybe let's talk about on Monday, my show on the English channel, my solo show with you off camera.
Yes.
And may get you to read articles, but you won't be on camera because it's going to be early. But that's going to be at 11 o'clock every day.
Oh, 11.
I might slightly change the time, but for right now on Monday, it's going to start at 11. So if you want to see something funny, there's probably going to be a lot of mistakes.
Yep.
It's a lot of new technology I'm using on the other set, and it's going to be the first time using it. So.
And I will be laughing off camera. And then I'll have my own show around 8 or 8:15 on this channel.
Yeah,
in Spanish, full on Spanish.
8:15 to about 9, and then we'll take a 15-minute break and then go into Nat and the Guy on the English channel.
Yeah.
So 3 shows a day.
Yes. And lots of videos and clips from them as well.
Okay, let's go into Thunderbolts here.
Yeah. So Thunderbolts makes 11.5 million in previews, which is not good for anybody.
Is horrible. It's this was just for the opening day, the Thursday, but this is a huge weekend. This is Valentine's Day weekend.
Valentine's Day. Mother's Day, if anything.
Oh, mother. Why don't you check
Valentine's Day is February 14th.
Sorry, not Valentine. Check up what long weekend it was, though. But this is typically a big box office weekend for films because it was a long weekend, not just in Mexico, but in many Western countries. So typically on a long weekend, when it opens Thursday, it makes more money. This actually hit $1 million under what the last Captain America did, and the last Captain America did horribly. So this thing was projected to maybe get around 70 million for its opening weekend. It's going to be hard to hit that number now, especially with 4 other big movies out there like Minecraft, Sinners, Accountants 2, and Revenge of the Sith re-release.
I didn't find any holidays for the U.S.
Okay, well,
it said it's World Tuna Day today.
Okay, let's keep going.
But in Mexico, I mean, it is kind of a lot of people took it as a long weekend anyways, but it was Workers' Day yesterday. And then today, a lot of people also kind of go through with it.
Why don't you read a little bit of this?
So there's a new Marvel team in town that nobody cares about. And no, they're not Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, or even the Eternals. That's why nobody cares about them. Thunderbolts, starring Florence Pugh and a handful of other Marvel anti-heroes and villains, is opening this weekend at the box office. The superhero movie, directed by Jake Schreier, I think, has made 11.5 million in previews so far. It's expected to make between 70 to 75 million in its opening weekend domestically, and worldwide it's projected to end up with 160 to 175 million.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to hit that projected worldwide number either, 160 to 170 million, because I'm not sure it got released in China, and if it did, I'm guessing it's not going to be very big in China, number one. But number two, it's not going to. I don't think it's going to hit those domestic box office numbers, and even if it does, those are really low bars to hit. So it should have been able to hit those no problem, but we'll see what happens.
And it's saying that it's on pace to make a little behind this February's earlier Marvel Avenger, Captain America, Brave New World.
And that was a horrible, when you compare it to other Marvel movies, Captain America, Brave New World was a new low for Marvel.
Brave New Low. It's saying it cost apparently 180 million to produce, approximately 100 million to market. I'm guessing it's even higher than that.
I think it's more that they very often lie about the marketing budget, and this thing was plastered all over the cinema and all over the mall when we went today.
That's true.
And I was like, why are they advertising that crap movie?
Yes. And I mean, in addition to Pugh, Thunderbolts, asterisk, stars Sebastian Stan, Wyatt Russell, David Harbour, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Hannah Joan Kamen, nobody cares. And I mean, it is basically just their other next attempt at a woke fest, because it was written a while ago as well. So,
and this girl's name right here is
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Florence
Pugh. She's the main one that's kind of pushing this movie along. She's the only good one in there. The problem with her is Hollywood is really pushing her to be a mainstream star, and she's just not a mainstream star. What I'm saying is, yeah, she's a star because they're putting in all these movies, but she's not like a Julia Roberts or a Al Pacino or something like this. Yes. This new generation of stars aren't really stars, and they don't drive people to go to the box office.
No.
She may drive a few lesbians, but other than that...
And also because Marvel has ruined their properties through Disney and through themselves, A lot of people don't trust the Marvel brand anymore. Like, they know that if anything comes out and it's Marvel, it's probably not going to be good. Rafa was saying that he might go watch it tomorrow and let us know how bad it is.
Better him watching than me, because I'm not interested.
I was going to say, let us know if we should go watch it.
I'm not watching. I'm going to watch Sinners. I've been talking about Sinners,
we should go watch both. And then,
no.
Yes.
I'm not supporting
I'm interested
this movie.
in how bad it's going to be. But I have lost track of Marvel because, again, they disappointed me to a point where I just didn't feel like I needed to watch it.
But it's not just Marvel. It's like now I'm at the point where first it was Star Wars I'm out on, and then it was Marvel. Now it's like everything Disney. Yeah. If it's Disney's attached to it, I know it's going to be woke, and if it's not woke, it's poorly written.
But we are going to go watch Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Because that one might be the first attempt at toning it down a bit.
At some point, Disney's going to need to try to turn it around. If they don't, their stock is going to crash, and Elon Musk and the other the conservative gentleman, what's his name?
Peltz.
Nelson Peltz are going to step in and take over that board and fix that company.
I think that's wishful thinking.
I don't think so, because Musk is supposed to be he's ending his term at Doge very soon, so he's going to have a lot of extra time.
Okay. Yeah, extra time to try to get Tesla out of the toilet.
I don't know if he's going to be able to do that right now. Oh, with the robots, maybe.
I mean, if they make them the same class as a car.
At this point, he's going to need sex bots in order to...
You can't say that word.
Okay.
S-bots. Bots to make men happy, let's just say. Speaking of Disney, the Disney hack man pleads guilty to stealing 1.1 terabytes of data over Slack.
Okay, why don't you read a little bit of this article, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. A California man has pleaded guilty to hacking a Disney employee's personal computer last year and stealing more than 1 terabyte of confidential data. Santa Clarita resident Ryan Mitchell Kramer, 25, young, pleaded guilty to 2 felony charges, including 1 count of accessing a computer and obtaining information, and 1 count of threatening to damage a protected computer. Each charge carries a maximum sentence of 5 years in federal prison. According to the plea agreement, in early 2024, Kramer posted a computer program on various online platforms that appeared to be used to create AI-generated art, when it really contained a malicious file to gain access to victims' computers. Between April and May 2024, a Disney employee downloaded the program, and Kramer gained access to the victims' personal and work accounts, including a non-public Disney Slack channel. That one would be interested to see.
Well, and the rumor is that this gentleman is facing 10 years in prison. I don't think he's going to do 10 years in prison, because he didn't hack Disney itself. He hacked a private individual that worked for Disney, and this information happened to be there. It's also rumored that they just want the data back, and they're willing to cut a very good plea deal for him. Yep. I do remember another Disney employees. I don't know if his phone was hacked, but people got personal images. Do you remember? Oh, it's not the easiest case to talk about on here, but he was taking inappropriate photos up.
He was being disgusting with minor women, girls. Let's put it that way. And if anybody is from Mexico and watched my story about Televisa, I'm sure they're kicking themselves and wish they could do the same thing Disney's trying to do now to this man. But hopefully they won't, because that information was really needed to come out, even if it came through Aristegui and her shilling for the former president once upon a time.
Yeah, that was a really interesting way to actually compromise these computers to offer a free AI software. Mm-hmm. And then get access to everything. So,
and I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of those out there. Be careful with whatever you click on and download out there in the world.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
So profits at American oil giants ExxonMobil and Chevron fall in tandem with waning energy demand.
Yeah,
we'll put this up there.
So this is interesting. So this is what we're having with as a lag from the Biden administration, and a lot of these globalist shills that have been promoting green energy alternative solutions that haven't been working, that may have crashed the EU's power grid the other day. Mm-hmm. But because they had all these policies and they were bringing all these taxes against oil and natural gas companies, there was no long-term investments to get these projects off the ground. Typically an oil and natural gas investment, it can take like anywhere from 3 to 7 years to actually get the project off and running, off the ground, all the permits and things like that. So they were not investing in this because countries were telling them basically don't do this. Trump is now saying the opposite thing. So it's going to be very, very interesting whether he can get these companies to actually start making long-term investments. He's in there for 4 years. If they start investing now, the next administration, number one, is going to get credit for it. But number two, if the next administration isn't a conservative administration, they're going to go against those policies, and all that investment money is just going to go poof up in smoke. So it's up to more than just the United States to be making these kind of investments and steering which direction they're going to go in, because these oil and gas companies can invest in the EU because they're total green energy.
And with Carney now in Canada.
Carney in Canada. I mean, your option is the U.S., but I mean, if Alberta does join the U.S., that would be a good sign.
Yes. So, I mean, again, that's very wishful, hopeful thinking far out in the future. It will take a long time. It might.
Not at all. Actually, I'm really up to date on this. I probably watch 3 hours a day worth of stories about this.
Okay, tell us.
Before the separation movement even began, all the paperwork was ready for the separation. So as soon as Carney won, they activated it. Within one day, they got 100,000 signatures. They only need 160,000 signatures. It's expected within 2 months they may go to a vote.
But the bill that Danielle Smith introduced hasn't even been passed yet. So right now they need more signatures anyways.
No, but they have
200,000. They have them. But the bill still hasn't been approved yet.
The lawyers that are working on the case right now are expecting somewhere around 2 months. And I think this is a bigger play behind the scenes
But how is it going to be only 2 months if the proposed legislation hasn't even gone into effect yet, where they need less signatures?
I'm
not saying they shouldn't do it. I'm just saying
they're getting all their ducks in a row. So when that legislation does come through, boom, it's activated right into a vote.
But wouldn't they have to be signatures that were collected after the bill was passed?
Supposedly not. That's what the lawyer's saying. So they're expecting anywhere from 2 to 4 months, but 2 months is the earliest they could go to a vote of separation. Saskatchewan is now getting their ducks in a row, and BC is also, they're not as far along, but now there is a movement where they actually have a legal team behind that, and they're trying to vote, they want to go to a vote of separation as well.
I think a lot of people are just very hopeful.
It's going to be much harder in BC. I don't think they're hopeful at all. I think there was something going in behind the scenes for a long time. And I think this was the bigger play for what's going to happen with the North American poll.
I mean, I'm saying they should. It'd be good for them, but I don't know if it's going to be that easy.
Then again, I believe in conspiracy theories.
Yes.
So I think if Canada separates, this was something long time in the making. It didn't just happen because the Conservatives lost.
No, of course, with that point of, yes, you're right. I mean, I don't think it's just all of a sudden things started happening. They were probably trying to work it out in the background. Now they see an opportunity, but I'm saying it might take longer than the really hopeful people are saying it will.
You take stories at face value. I kind of read into things. So let's keep going.
I try to be cautious about making statements I'm not sure about. So... Good. TikTok finds 600 million for China data transfers that broke EU privacy rules. Of course they did.
Why don't you talk about this? Because this is your favorite topic. That's why I threw it in there.
Well, I hate TikTok. A European Union privacy watchdog fined TikTok 530 million euros, or $600 million, on Friday after a 4-year investigation found that the video sharing app's data transfers to China put users at risk of spying and breach of strict EU data privacy rules. And also Apple has to abstain to these EU privacy data rules. I don't know why TikTok was allowed to continue on for so long, but Ireland's Data Protection Commission also sanctioned TikTok for not being transparent with users about where their personal data was being sent and ordered the company to comply with rules within 6 months.
Yeah, this is this is complete crap, because the way they're finding U.S. companies, they're not finding U.S. companies for data transfer, which I think is completely fine to find a company for if you're not letting them know that you're going to transfer their data to another country. But they're finding U.S. companies for hate speech laws and all these crazy different things, trying to get them to color between the lines based upon EU law rather than having free speech. When it comes to TikTok, though, I guess anything goes until it comes to data transfer.
And it said TikTok failed to verify, guarantee, and demonstrate that the personal data of European users remotely accessed by staff in China was afforded a level of protection essentially equivalent to that guaranteed within the EU. TikTok said it disagreed with the decision and plans to appeal. Company said in a blog post that the decision focuses on a select period ending in May 2023 before it embarked on a data localization project called Project Clover that involved building 3 data centers in Europe. And I mean, I'm just saying, people in Mexico, people elsewhere that still use TikTok, has there been anything said from our governments about data transfers to China from users outside of the countries that are annoyed about it, like the EU? Well, not country, but like places like the EU and the US that are trying to look into that.
Well, I remember
elsewhere in the world, they don't really talk about it.
Well, yeah, they talked about it in front of Congress. They had
I'm saying outside of the US and
what I'm saying
the
is
EU.
TikTok testified in front of Congress, and what they said, it's now impossible for them to do data transfer back to China because it's two separate companies and it's completely detached. Obviously, that's not the case.
No.
They're able to still make these data transfers.
Yes.
So I would like the U.S. to actually look into this, but I'm still not for the U.S. making a forced buy of TikTok because that's just crazy.
Yes, I'd rather they just block it completely.
Okay, let's go into what do we got next.
Something you added that I don't have a story for, so I have to look
U.S.
for it.
House votes to block nation-leading vehicle emission rules. So this has to go with the federal government now having to come down on California because California is bringing in emissions laws that's basically going to, I believe, start this year or next year. I know in Canada it starts next year, but they want to go to all electric vehicles. If this actually happens, the power grid in California cannot sustain all electric vehicles, even if they made the transition. And nobody's on board with this transition except the California government.
Yes, and probably Oregon and
So why don't you read a little
Washington. So the Republican-controlled U.S. House, scary, voted Thursday to block California from enforcing first-in-nation rules phasing out the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035, also a plan that Mark Carney and Canada wants to do, even though it doesn't make any sense. The move comes a day after the chamber voted to halt California standards to cut tailpipe emissions from medium and heavy-duty vehicles, as well as curb smog-forming nitrogen oxide pollution from trucks.
Yeah, and I believe I was listening to Mark Carney talk the other day. That's the premier of
Prime Minister of Canada.
Prime Minister of Canada, and he was saying he's working in conjunction with California. He specifically mentioned California. Now, I know that what the Canadian law is next year in 2026, if you buy a gas-powered vehicle over the limit that the government says they can sell in gas-powered vehicles next year, there is a $20,000 tax added onto that vehicle. Nobody's going to buy a gas-powered vehicle at that point, but used gas-powered vehicles will become extremely popular.
Yes, and also, I mean, in Canada, we know, we've talked a lot about how electric vehicles don't work because they don't work in the cold, and there's also not enough power charging stations or ways to power them in general. So
Yeah.
it's just stupid policies with, I'm guessing, ulterior motives behind that make no sense.
Well, and I don't know how this is going to work now that Trump came out and said he's on board with taking down all these mandatory policies, and the United States is going to reinvest in its car manufacturing, and it's going to be geared towards gas-powered vehicles. There will still be an electrical option, but it's up to the people to choose. And if he also invests in oil and natural gas, that's going to dramatically drop gas prices. And with all these states talking about they want to start taxing electric vehicles, and the way they want to start taxing them is by the mile in order to pay for their roads. So it's crazy. We covered that story.
I forgot about that.
And like, there's just so many dystopian things that are starting to rear their heads with these electric vehicles. It's absolutely crazy.
Like what I was saying? They explode and they follow you?
Now stick to the Harleys, I guess.
No, because they're woke and gay.
Not anymore. They're starting to change their ways.
No, I think a lot of people will still see them as woke and gay.
Okay.
Okay, so...
And last story on YouTube before we head to RUMBLE.
For the last time on this channel. Maybe. So Trump says he's ending federal funding for NPR and PBS. They say that he can't. They being lawyers. And this is coming from NPR, so of course it's a very biased news source.
He signed the executive order, so he obviously can. And this is great news. And now a lot of people aren't going to know what NPR is.
National Public Radio.
It says it's National Public Radio. It's one of the most biased liberal propaganda rags. It's insane, some of the stuff they give out. And because it's radio, nobody really pays attention to that media anymore. But they are actually on YouTube as well, so I do watch their YouTube channel, and it is insane. I like to watch the most insane liberal channels, and NPR happens to be one of those, but they propagate themselves to be proper and elite and within the box.
Unbiased and real journalism. But the thing is, if NPR had all these crazy opinions, but at the same time had the opposite opinions, I don't think there'd be really any issue. The problem is that they're only giving out one point of view and one ideology that they're trying to inject into everything, and that's what makes it shouldn't be like national public radio, because it's not representative of the nation. And also PBS, a public broadcasting service, same thing.
PBS is what the liberals are going to want to focus on if they want to try to villainize this move, because people do, especially in my age bracket, do remember PBS being public broadcasting station, and there was like a lot of children's shows on there, a lot of independent local shows and things like that were on there. So there was a time it wasn't geared towards politics, but it has been geared towards politics in more recent years. So they need to get rid of that as well.
So what they're saying, or the reason why they're saying they can't, it's because PBS President and CEO Paula Krager called it a blatantly unlawful executive order issued in the middle of the night. CPB is already suing the Trump administration over his executive order, seeking to fire 3 of its 5 board members on Friday. It dismissed the validity of the president's new order, saying CPB is not federal. It's not a federal executive agency subject to the president's authority. The corporation wrote in a statement issued Friday morning, Congress directly authorized and funded CPB to be a private nonprofit or corporation wholly independent from the federal government. The CPB noted that the statute Congress passed to create it expressly forbade any department, agency, office, or employee of the United States to exercise any direction, supervision, or control over educational, television, or radio broadcasting, or any of its grantees or contractors, but it didn't say anything about funding in there.
Yeah, here's the thing they're gonna find out. They got over 200 lawsuits going against Trump, and Trump is just waiting for these things to go to the Supreme Court, because what the Supreme Court is gonna have to realize and rule on is the power of the executive branch, and that's what he's been betting on. This has already been leaked. They're just waiting for a couple of these cases to go up to the Supreme Court. If the Supreme Court makes the correct ruling, which is state courts can't overrule an executive order from the president himself, because that's the highest branch of government, then all those other lawsuits are just going to disappear all at once. So although it seems like a lot of lawsuits are coming Trump's way, a lot of them are frivolous, and they're going to be solved when the Supreme Court makes a ruling about what state courts are not allowed to do. No. And the reason state courts can't do that is because if every time Trump makes an order, crazy liberal judge comes in and says, no, you can't, then the president won't be able to do anything. The
president loses any kind of power.
Yeah. So it's
that
obvious.
He needs to have when actual important decisions that are pertinent to for the president to take need to be taken. And if they ruled that he can't take them, then the whole country is at risk and national security is at risk, and which is something that these liberals apparently can't understand.
Well, and Trump knows this, so he just makes the executive order, implements it, waits for it to go through court until he gets the ruling he wants, and then it doesn't really matter. Even if one or two of these rulings goes against Trump, okay, he starts refunding them, but he's just really waiting for the Supreme Court to take up 1 or 2 cases to set that precedent for all the other cases.
Yes.
Okay, and that's it for YouTube.
Yeah, let me see if there's any comments. Rafa, oh yeah, he said he'll go watch Thunderbolts tomorrow. I kind of want to go watch it now, just to review it, negatively, of course. But Rafa also says, good luck on the next phase for both channels, and thank you for the great work you both do. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for always commenting and being so nice and so generous as well. So now for the Rumble portion, for the RUMBLE portion, everything, it'll basically, both things from both channels will go on that one.
Yeah.
We're not going to separate into 2 different RUMBLE channels.
Okay.
Just so people know. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to say to everybody on the Spanish channel?
No, thank you to Walker and Rafa, who have been our 2 most loyal viewers right from the beginning.
Yes.
So they really helped us to keep going when we get comments and things.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a time we had no comments, we had nobody watching.
Exactly.
And so it's nice just to have even a small audience.
Yes. And thank you for always almost being here or rewatching it when you don't watch it live. I know Rafa rewatches a lot of them.
Okay, let's head over to...
Rafa says link for the new channel on YouTube. It's always in the description of any videos on this channel. It always says Not on the Guy in English. If you click the link, it takes you directly to subscribe. So if you want to keep watching these English segments, go subscribe to that one as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, and goodbye, YouTube.
Oh,
okay.
Are we still on YouTube?
Yes.
We have a ton of hot stories on Rumble. And when I say hot stories, I mean I cannot talk about these on YouTube, and the clips are just jaw-dropping. So, okay.
Yes. So we'll see you over there. RUMBLE, and subscribe to the English channel on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go quite into the first story yet, but I will talk a little bit. The first story is...
Just remember, people have